Have you ever woken up feeling your legs just don't have the strength they used to? Maybe you brush it off as just getting old, thinking it's normal to feel weaker, a little slower. But what if I told you that muscle weakness and those shaky moments aren't simply because of age? It might surprise you, but it's not just about moving less or wear and tear. There's a hidden cause that most people overlook, quietly affecting millions of seniors every day. Something subtle but serious. It's the kind of issue that starts small, almost unnoticeable, but if ignored, it can change how you live your life, your independence, and even your safety. Today, we're diving deep into the truth about aging that no one talks about until it's too late. In this video, I'll share with you the surprising science behind why muscles weaken, simple habits that can help reverse this, and real stories from people just like you who took control and regained their strength. So, stay with me, because what you learn here might just change the way you see aging and help you take back your vitality. If you are not subscribed, subscribe and activate the notification bell so you don't miss any videos. If you like the topic of this video, please comment 1. If you don't, please comment 0 to let me know how I can improve and make better videos for you. Now, let's begin. 1. It's not just the body that weakens, it's the sense of purpose. There's something quiet that creeps in alongside the gray hair and the aches in our knees. You don't notice it at first. It's more subtle than stiff joints or the new medicine bottles lining the counter. It shows up on those slow mornings, when you wake up and realize there's nothing on the calendar. No one expecting you, nowhere you truly have to be. At first, it feels like a well-deserved break after decades of schedules and deadlines. You might tell yourself, I've earned this rest. And for a while, that's true. But then the days start blending. The phone rings less. The house grows quieter. You catch yourself standing in the middle of the living room, unsure what you walked in for, and wonder, what's next for me? It's a feeling no one prepares you for. We all expect the body to slow down with age, but few people talk about what happens to the spirit when the world gets quieter. It's almost an invisible kind of weakness, not in the muscles or bones, but deep down in the sense of purpose. Maybe you feel it after retiring from a career you loved, or after the kids have moved to different states with their own busy lives. Maybe your friends have started their journeys, and your social circle is smaller now. There's a kind of emptiness that creeps in, not just loneliness, but a question that lingers in the back of your mind. Do I still matter? It's easy to brush off these feelings. You might tell yourself, this is just how it is for folks my age, or everyone feels a bit lost after a big change. But what if that's not the whole story? What if this quiet, aching sense of not being needed isn't just an unavoidable part of getting older? What if it's something we can change? Something that's more important to our health than we realize. Most people believe that aging is just about physical decline. The knees that don't bend like they used to, the eyesight that blurs around the edges, the hands that sometimes tremble to hold a coffee mug. Doctors are quick to measure our blood pressure and cholesterol, but how often do they ask about the spark in our hearts or the reason we get up in the morning? Science, though, is catching up to what many elders have felt in their bones for years. Having a sense of purpose is as vital to our health as eating vegetables or taking a daily walk. Research from Yale and Rush University has shown that older adults who feel they have a purpose in life, whether it's caring for a grandchild, volunteering, tending a garden, or even mastering a crossword puzzle, are not only happier but also live longer. Their minds stay sharper, and their bodies seem more resilient to illness. Having a reason to wake up each day can lower stress hormones, boost immunity, and even reduce the risk of heart disease and Alzheimer's. In other words, the body and the spirit are more connected than we once thought. When the spirit weakens, the body soon follows. But here's the part that gives hope. Purpose isn't something that belongs only to the young, or the busy, or the working. It's not about having a job title or a packed social calendar. It can be something small and quiet, something you choose for yourself every day. Finding purpose in later life doesn't require grand gestures or huge changes. Initfin starts with something simple. A tiny act of curiosity, kindness, or care. Try this gentle shift. Think of one thing you enjoyed doing before life got so busy. Maybe it was painting, fixing up old radios, or baking bread from scratch. Permit yourself to revisit it, even for just 15 minutes a week. Or look for a way to help someone, no matter how small. Maybe you could send a card to an old friend, offer to read to children at the local library, or simply water the neighbor's plants while they're away. Even caring for a pet or nurturing a houseplant can spark a new sense of responsibility and joy. Don't underestimate the power of small routines. Having a reason to open the curtains, change out of pajamas, or brew a cup of tea for yourself every morning can gently build a sense of structure and meaning. You could start a gratitude journal, listing 3 things you're thankful for each evening before bed. Or make it a point to call a friend every Sunday afternoon, turning it into a tradition that both of you can look forward to. Let me tell you about someone who found a new sense of purpose most simply. There's a gentleman named Frank, a retired mailman in Wisconsin. For most of his adult life, Frank knew his neighborhood better than anyone else. He could tell you which house had the barking dog, who grew tomatoes out front, and who always left their porch light on. But after retirement, the days stretched long and empty. At first, he loved the quiet, the slow mornings. But after a few months, he realized he missed being a part of people's routines. He missed the feeling of being needed, of having somewhere to go. One day, Frank noticed that the small park near his house had fallen into disrepair. Trash scattered, benches broken, flowers wilted. He started going for short walks each morning, picking up litter with an old grabber and chatting with anyone who passed by. At first, people just nodded, but after a while, neighbors began stopping to talk. Someone brought him a thermos of coffee. Another left a bag of daffodil bulbs for him to plant. Before long, the whole park seemed brighter, not just from the flowers, but from the little community that grew up around Frank's gentle habit. He didn't fix the world, but he changed his world, and found a sense of purpose that made each day matter. What Frank discovered is something any of us can find: meaning in the ordinary. You don't have to lead a committee, write a novel, or start a business unless you want to. Sometimes, the simple act of connecting with nature, with people, with a small project, can shift everything. It reminds us that our presence makes a difference, even if it's in ways that seem quiet or invisible at first. If you're watching this and feeling that ache, the longing for days that feel meaningful, for a reason to get up and get dressed, I want you to know you're not alone. Every stage of life brings challenges, but it also brings new opportunities to redefine what matters. The years after 65 aren't just a winding down. They're a time to claim what brings you joy and purpose on your terms. Don't wait for someone else to invite you back into the world. Take a small step today to do one thing that satisfies you or helps someone else smile. Purpose isn't something we lose with age. It's something we choose over and over again. Your story, your experience, and your kindness still matter, maybe now more than ever. So, as you listen to the rest of this video, I hope you'll think about what gives your day meaning. Let's remind each other that getting older doesn't mean growing invisible. The sense of purpose you find, or rekindle, can make every year ahead brighter, fuller, and worth looking forward to. 2. Loneliness hurts more than arthritis. There's a quiet ache that many older adults know all too well, a pain that can settle in much deeper than a stiff knee or a sore back. It's not the kind of ache you can soothe with a warm compress or an extra pillow. It's the feeling that the world has grown quieter around you, that the phone doesn't ring as much, that the laughter in the house seems like an echo from another life. For so many seniors, loneliness isn't just a word or a passing mood. It's a shadow that lingers, quietly shaping each day. Perhaps you've felt it yourself. Maybe it starts after your children have moved far away, chasing their dreams in new states, or are busy with their families. Or maybe you lost your spouse, the one person who truly understood your quiet moments and knew just how you liked your coffee in the morning. You find yourself eating dinner at the same spot at the kitchen table, staring out the window at the world passing by. You tell yourself it's just part of getting older, that everyone feels this way at some point. You think it's just something to put up with, and try to distract yourself with television, puzzles, or the hum of the washing machine. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons useful, please comment 1 below to let me know that you are still here with me. But here's a question we don't ask enough. Is loneliness just an unavoidable part of aging, something we have to accept? Or could it be something far more serious? Something that affects our bodies and minds in ways we don't always see? It might surprise you, but scientists have discovered that loneliness isn't just sad, it's dangerous for your health. According to studies from Harvard and the AARP, chronic loneliness can raise your risk of heart disease, stroke, high blood pressure, and even dementia. Being socially isolated is as damaging to your body as smoking 15 cigarettes a day. Think about that for a moment. We spend so much energy worrying about cholesterol and sugar, yet rarely talk about the risks of eating dinner alone night after night. When you feel lonely, your body produces more stress hormones like cortisol, which over time can weaken your immune system and make you more vulnerable to illness. Your sleep suffers, your appetite changes, and you're more likely to feel anxious or depressed. Loneliness also takes a toll on the brain. Our minds were made for connection. For conversation, shared laughter, a warm hug, even just the gentle presence of another person in the room. Without these small moments of togetherness, memory can fade, and the mind can lose its sharpness. That's why so many seniors notice their minds feeling foggier, or their motivation slipping away when they spend too many days in silence. It's not simply old age. It's the invisible burden of isolation. But there's hope, and it starts with one simple truth. Loneliness is not a sign of weakness or failure, and you're not alone in feeling it. The longing for connection is as human as the need for food or shelter. And the good news is that even small steps toward connection can make a huge difference. You don't have to become the life of the party or fill your days with endless activities. Sometimes, just reaching out, even in the smallest ways, can help heal the ache of loneliness and bring your spirit back to life. Here are a few gentle, everyday solutions you can try. First, consider picking up the phone and calling someone you haven't spoken to in a while. A neighbor, a cousin, or an old friend from church. You don't need a special reason. Sometimes, hearing a familiar voice is enough to brighten a whole afternoon. If getting out of the house feels overwhelming, look for small, local groups you might enjoy. Maybe a book club at the library, a gardening group, or even a gentle exercise class at the senior center. Many communities have meal programs or friendly visitor programs where volunteers will stop by for a chat or share a meal. If you feel nervous about joining something new, start even smaller. Try talking to someone the next time you're at the grocery store, or smile and wave at neighbors when you walk around the block. Even these tiny moments of social contact can lift your mood and remind you that you're part of a larger world. Let me tell you about Rose, a gentlewoman from Ohio who spent years battling the ache of loneliness after her husband passed away. At first, she barely left the house, convinced that her presence wouldn't be missed by anyone. One day, her granddaughter asked her to attend a community knitting group, just for an afternoon. Rose almost said no. She felt shy and worried she wouldn't have anything to say. But she went, and to her surprise, found herself laughing at old stories and sharing advice with younger women who admired her skill. It wasn't a magical fix. The loneliness didn't vanish overnight. But that small step, a single afternoon spent in good company, became the start of a new chapter. Rose began looking forward to each Thursday, laying out her best scarf and saving funny stories to share with her friends. Slowly, the heaviness began to lift, replaced by a feeling of belonging. If you see yourself in Rose's story, I want you to know there's no shame in feeling lonely. So many people your age are carrying the same silent ache. But it's never too late to reach out, to join in, or to invite someone else in. Sometimes, the greatest courage comes in the smallest acts. A phone call, a letter, a wave from the porch. You have so much left to give, and there are people out there who need the warmth of your smile, your stories, and your kindness. The aches of arthritis might slow your steps, but loneliness can weigh much heavier on your heart. Don't let it settle in unchallenged. You are not invisible, and your company is more precious than you know. Take a gentle risk today. Call someone, say hello, or let someone know you're thinking of them. The world is still full of friendship, laughter, and love, waiting for you to reach out. You've made it through so much in life. Let's not let loneliness be the one thing you carry alone. Every day holds the promise of connection, and you deserve every moment of joy it brings. 3. The fear of becoming a burden keeps many silent. There's a quiet conversation that happens in many American homes, a conversation that's rarely spoken aloud, yet lingers in every pause, every polite, "I'm fine, don't worry about me." If you've ever found yourself hesitating before picking up the phone to ask for help, or brushing off a worry because you didn't want to bother your children, you're not alone. This feeling is more common than you might think, but it rarely gets talked about openly. For so many seniors, the fear of becoming a burden sits heavy on the heart, shaping choices, silencing needs, and often making the days feel even lonelier. Maybe it's a feeling you first noticed after retirement, when your kids started their own families, busy with their work and raising children of their own. Or perhaps it crept in after you lost your spouse, and suddenly, the simple things, like changing a light bulb or getting to a doctor's appointment, became bigger hurdles. The house that once rang with laughter now echoes with silence, and you start to wonder, am I asking too much if I reach out? So you swallow the worry, put on a brave face, and reassure everyone that you're managing just fine, even when the days feel long and the nights even longer. But let's pause here and ask a different question, one that isn't often voiced. Is this quiet acceptance, this reluctance to ask for help, really protecting our loved ones? Or is it slowly building a wall between ourselves and the people who care about us most? What if our silence isn't sparing them, but shutting them out of our lives? We grew up in America with the idea of self-reliance stitched into our hearts. Pull yourself up by your bootstraps, don't be a bother, and handle your own problems. These are values that helped shape a nation and raise families. But as we grow older, life changes. The truth is, even the strongest, most independent among us will eventually need a hand. That's not failure. It's simply human. In fact, studies show that asking for support, both practical and emotional, can actually strengthen family ties and create deeper, more meaningful connections. Science backs this up. When older adults share their worries or ask for assistance, it not only helps them manage the tasks of daily living, but also brings a sense of closeness and trust to relationships. Adult children, for example, often feel honored, yes, honored, to be invited into their parents' world, to give back some of the care they once received. Studies from the National Institutes of Health reveal that families who talk openly about their struggles and needs tend to experience less stress and more satisfaction, even as roles shift and parents become the ones receiving support. But knowing this doesn't always make it easier to reach out. There's an ache, a deep-rooted worry that if you lean too much, if you ask too often, you'll become a weight, a burden. It's a fear that can keep you silent about the pain in your hip, the confusion over a medical bill, or the fact that you haven't seen a friend in weeks. You tell yourself, they have enough on their plate. You remind yourself, I managed before, I'll get through it. Yet the cost of this silence can be high. Missed medications, unsafe falls, depression that goes unspoken, and, perhaps most painful of all, a growing sense of isolation. So how do you find the courage to ask for help, to break the silence? The answer often starts with something small, a gentle solution that feels less like a burden and more like an invitation. Instead of asking your daughter to take over your shopping every week, maybe you ask if she'd like to join you at the store, turning a chore into a chance to catch up. Instead of hiding your confusion about a new phone or TV remote, try saying, could you show me how this works? I'd love to learn it with you. Framing your needs as opportunities to spend time together or learn something new can make the request feel lighter for everyone involved. Another gentle step is to be honest about your feelings. The next time your son asks, "How are you doing, Mom? Try sharing a little more than the usual. I'm fine." You might say, "Some days are a little harder, but I'm grateful for your calls. They mean more than you know." This opens the door to deeper conversations and reminds your loved ones that their presence, not just their help, is what truly matters. Let me share a story about a man named Walter, a retired bus driver from Minnesota. Walter prided himself on never missing a day of work and rarely asking anyone for anything. But after his wife passed away, everyday tasks became more difficult. He started skipping meals because he didn't have the energy to cook, and he stopped going to his favorite fishing spot because he worried about driving alone. Walter's daughter, Sarah, lived only 10 miles away, but she had a demanding job and 2 kids. He didn't want to add to her stress, so he kept quiet. One afternoon, Sarah stopped by unexpectedly and found her father sitting in the dark, surrounded by piles of unopened mail and takeout containers. She sat with him and gently asked, "Dad, why didn't you call me?" Walter hesitated, then finally admitted, "I just didn't want to be a bother." Tears filled Sarah's eyes as she said, "Dad, you've spent your whole life taking care of me. It's my turn to be here for you." From that day forward, Walter let Sarah help with groceries and sorting bills. But more importantly, he allowed her to bring the kids over for weekly dinners, turning their shared time into a new tradition, one filled with laughter, warmth, and stories that might have otherwise gone untold. If you've ever hesitated to ask for help, I hope you see yourself in Walter's story. It takes courage to admit you need support, but it's not a weakness, it's an act of trust. You are not a burden. You are a parent, a grandparent, a friend, and a cherished part of your family and community. The people who love you want to be there for you, just as you were for them in all those years past. So the next time you feel that familiar hesitation, remember, you're not taking something away by reaching out. You're giving your loved ones a chance to show their love in return. Your honesty and vulnerability are gifts that deepen relationships and create memories. Let your needs be known, your stories be heard, and your heart be open. You've carried so much for others. Now let them carry a little for you. And if today you make that small step, picking up the phone, asking a question, or letting someone help, you're not only helping yourself, but you're also building bridges that will carry you and those you love through whatever comes next. You are worthy of care, always. 4. Regret builds quietly, about things unsaid and undone. Sometimes, it's not the big moments that haunt us as we grow older. It's the small ones we let slip away. There's a quiet, familiar ache that settles in the hearts of many people in their later years, a subtle sense of unfinished business. It's not just about missed adventures or travels never taken. More often, it's about words never spoken, apologies left unoffered, love not fully expressed. It creeps up in quiet moments, while you're staring out the window at the autumn leaves, or lying awake in the soft glow of a nightlight, reminding you of the people you once meant to call, the thank you, or I'm sorry, you thought you'd have more time to say. Perhaps you recognize this feeling. Maybe there was a neighbor you lost touch with, a sibling you argued with decades ago, a friend you meant to visit but kept putting off. At the time, these moments felt small. There would always be another day, another chance. But the days slipped by. Now, you find yourself wondering what might have happened if you just picked up the phone or written that letter. Sometimes you comfort yourself by thinking, everyone has regrets, or that's just the way life goes. But what if it doesn't have to be that way? What if regret isn't just an inevitable part of aging, but something you can face and gently release, even now? If you are still watching this video and find these lessons useful, please comment 2 below to let me know that you are still here with me. Modern science, as well as wisdom from countless elders, tells us that regret isn't just a matter of memory or the past. It can actually affect our physical and emotional health. Research from the University of California shows that holding on to regret, especially about relationships, raises our stress levels, makes it harder to sleep, and even weakens our immune systems. Over time, regret becomes more than just a sad memory. It can weigh down the body and the spirit, draining the joy from the present moment. But here's the hopeful part. Studies also show that people who make peace with their regrets, who find a way to reach out or let go, experience a boost in happiness and even a reduction in physical symptoms like chronic pain and fatigue. How can you start to let go of regret in everyday life? It doesn't require grand gestures or elaborate apologies. Often, the most healing steps are the simplest. Begin by acknowledging your feelings without judgment. Instead of pushing regret away, take a quiet moment to name what you're carrying. I wish I had spent more time with my sister. I regret not saying thank you to my neighbor before she moved. Say it out loud, or write it in a notebook. This small act can be surprisingly freeing. Then, look for a gentle step you can take today. If there's someone you miss or someone you once hurt, consider reaching out. Send a short note, make a phone call, or simply leave a kind comment on social media. If a face-to-face conversation isn't possible, write a letter anyway, even if you never send it. Sometimes, just expressing the words helps lift the burden. And remember, making peace doesn't always mean receiving forgiveness or rekindling old friendships. Sometimes it's about forgiving yourself and honoring the lessons learned. Let me share a story about Lorraine, a retired nurse from Kentucky. For years, Lorraine felt a deep sadness about her older brother, Sam. They'd had a falling out in their 40s, over something small that, with time, had grown into years of silence. When Lorraine lost her husband, she longed to call Sam, to share her grief and remember childhood memories. But she was afraid it had been too long, that too much had happened, and that he wouldn't want to hear from her. One morning, after weeks of hesitation, Lorraine sat at her kitchen table and wrote Sam a letter. She wrote about their childhood adventures, the funny things only siblings remember, and, most importantly, she wrote, "I'm sorry I let so many years slip by. I've missed you." She mailed the letter, unsure if she would ever get a response. But a month later, a postcard arrived. It was from Sam. He wrote, "I've missed you too. Life's too short to stay angry. Call me." That phone call was awkward at first, but soon laughter and stories filled the gap of lost time. They would never recover all those years, but in letting go of regret, Lorraine found a new peace, and her days felt lighter. Maybe your story isn't exactly like Lorraine's, but the lesson is universal. It's never too late to say what matters. You can't change the past, but you can choose what you carry with you. Even if the person you long to reach is no longer here, you can speak your words aloud or write them in a letter to yourself, letting your heart finally rest. If you're watching this, maybe you're holding on to something unsaid or undone. I want you to know you're not alone. Every person carries regrets, but you have the power to soften their hold on your heart. Start with a small, brave act. Reach out, forgive, or simply honor your own feelings with compassion. Sometimes, the healing is not in the response, but in the act of trying. As you listen, I hope you remember this. Growing older means having more memories, both beautiful and painful, but it also means having more wisdom and courage. Don't let regret rob you of your present joys. The words you speak, the love you offer, and the forgiveness you choose. These are the gifts you can still give to others and to yourself. So today, ask yourself, is there something I need to say? Is there a simple step I can take to lighten my heart? Life is precious, and so are you. Give yourself permission to live with less regret, more love, and the knowledge that every day holds the chance for a new beginning. 5. Your environment affects your soul. There's a simple truth many of us discover as the years go by. The spaces we live in don't just surround us, they shape us. Have you ever noticed how a sunny room can lift your spirits, or how a cluttered, dark corner can make the day feel heavier? For many seniors, the home that once felt like a warm sanctuary can start to feel less inviting, even a little overwhelming. You might find yourself spending more time in just one favorite chair, glancing around and feeling a mix of comfort and sadness. It's easy to think that these feelings are just part of aging, or the natural result of too much stuff accumulating over the years. But the truth runs deeper. Our environment can quietly affect our mood, our energy, and even our sense of self. It's common to overlook how powerful this connection is. You might have thought, it's just a house or an apartment. I'm fine inside, no matter what. But what if your surroundings are telling a different story? What if the state of your home, the colors, the lighting, the way things are arranged, are influencing how you feel inside, even shaping your outlook on life? Science has begun to explore this connection in new ways. Researchers studying environmental psychology have found that our surroundings can affect our brain chemistry, mood, and mental clarity. Natural light, for example, helps regulate our body clocks and releases serotonin, the feel-good chemical. On the other hand, cluttered or dim spaces can increase stress hormones and make it harder to focus or feel motivated. For seniors, these effects can be even more pronounced. A home that feels cramped or gloomy may contribute to feelings of isolation, anxiety, or depression. Conversely, an environment that is bright, organized, and filled with meaningful items can boost confidence, spark memories, and encourage engagement with the world. So what can you do to create a living space that nourishes your soul, even if you're on a fixed income or have limited mobility? The good news is that small, gentle changes can make a big difference, and you don't have to do everything at once. Start by bringing in more natural light. Open curtains or blinds during the day, trim back bushes outside windows if you can, or add a mirror to reflect sunlight deeper into the room. Even a few fresh flowers or a small potted plant can brighten your space and remind you of nature's renewal. Next, think about the colors around you. Soft, warm tones, like light blues, gentle yellows, or creams, can create a calm, uplifting atmosphere. You don't need to repaint your whole house. Even swapping out pillow covers or adding a cozy throw can shift the mood. Pay attention to areas where you spend the most time, like your favorite chair or the kitchen table. Making those spaces comfortable and inviting can encourage you to stay active and engaged. Organization is another key piece. It's easy to let clutter build up, especially when moving things around feels tiring. But finding a simple system, like labeled baskets or shelves, can reduce overwhelm and give you a sense of control. Consider keeping cherished photos, meaningful souvenirs, or artwork visible. These items can bring joy and connect you to your past and your loved ones. Let me tell you about Mary, a widow in Oregon who found new light by changing her environment. After losing her husband, her once lively home felt empty and quiet. Mary started spending more time in her bedroom, where the curtains were often closed, and the room felt dark. One day, her granddaughter suggested she open the windows and bring in some plants. Mary hesitated but gave it a try. She added a few colorful pots on the windowsill, rearranged some furniture to catch the morning sun, and even hung a painting of her favorite beach on the wall. Soon, she noticed she felt more awake in the mornings, more willing to read or knit. The house didn't change overnight, but her spirit did. Those small touches helped Mary reconnect with the warmth and comfort her home could offer. If you're watching this and feeling your space doesn't quite feel like home anymore, remember, you have the power to make it a place that lifts your heart. You don't need big renovations or expensive items. It starts with simple acts: pulling back a curtain, tidying a corner, displaying a cherished photo, or even lighting a scented candle. These moments create a sanctuary for your mind and soul, a place where you can feel safe, loved, and inspired. Your environment is more than just where you live. It's a reflection of who you are, a stage for your daily life and memories. When you care for your surroundings, you care for yourself. And in caring for yourself, you open the door to more joy, peace, and connection every day. So today, take a gentle look around. What small change could bring a little more light or warmth into your space? What familiar object could you bring forward to remind you of love or laughter? The space you live in can be a quiet friend, supporting you as much as you've supported others through your life. Let it be a place where your soul feels at home. 6. You still matter more than you think. As we journey through life, there can be moments when the world feels like it's moving on without us. Maybe it's after retirement, when the busy routines that once gave us structure slow down, or when family gatherings become fewer, and the voices we once heard daily grow distant. It's easy in those moments to wonder, do I still matter? Have I been forgotten? These thoughts are more common than you realize, especially among seniors, and they can quietly chip away at our confidence and joy. You might catch yourself thinking that your best days are behind you, that the roles you played as a parent, a worker, or a friend no longer count. But what if I told you that you matter now just as much, if not more, than ever before? That your presence, your stories, your wisdom are gifts that the world still desperately needs? It might sound surprising, especially if you're feeling overlooked, but it's a truth backed by both heart and science. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons useful, please comment 3 below to let me know that you are still here with me. Many people assume that after a certain age, their contributions become less important. But studies show that seniors who feel valued and engaged tend to live longer, healthier lives. Feeling needed boosts mental health, combats loneliness, and even strengthens the immune system. Psychologists call this sense of meaning generativity, the drive to nurture and guide the next generation. And the beautiful thing is, generativity doesn't end at retirement. It evolves and deepens. You have lived through decades of change, witnessed history firsthand, and accumulated a treasure trove of experience that younger generations can only imagine. Your stories teach resilience. Your advice carries weight because it's earned through real life. When you share your knowledge, whether it's teaching a grandchild to bake, mentoring a neighbor, or simply telling tales of days gone by, you're shaping the future in ways that ripple far beyond what you see. But you don't need to do grand things to make a difference. Sometimes, just being there, listening, smiling, offering a word of encouragement, is enough to light up someone's day. Think about a time someone valued your presence, a moment when your advice or kindness changed how another person saw themselves. That same power lives inside you still. Consider the story of Helen, a retired schoolteacher from Arizona. After her husband passed away, Helen struggled with feeling invisible, unsure if she had a place in her community. Then, a local library invited her to lead a weekly story time for children. At first, she was nervous, thinking, who wants to listen to an old lady's stories? But the children loved her warmth and wisdom, and parents thanked her for sparking their kids' love of reading. Helen's role grew, and so did her sense of purpose. She began organizing book drives and literacy events, reminding herself, and everyone around her, that her life's work was far from over. Your own story matters just as much. Whether you realize it or not, you influence the people around you every day. Maybe it's through the traditions you keep alive, the meals you prepare with love, or the quiet strength you show during hard times. These acts ripple outwards, touching lives in ways both big and small. If you're feeling unsure about your place or purpose, try this simple exercise. Reach out to someone younger and share a piece of your story or advice. It could be a neighbor, a grandchild, or even a new friend. You might be surprised how eager they are to listen and learn. And in sharing, you'll reconnect with a part of yourself that's vibrant, relevant, and deeply needed. Remember, you are not defined solely by your age or what you can do. You are defined by the love you've given, the lessons you've learned, and the kindness you continue to offer. The world is richer because you are in it, and your light still shines brightly. So today, know this: you still matter. More than you think, more than you realize. Your life, your voice, your heart are treasures. Don't ever underestimate the impact you have, simply by being you. The best chapters of your story are still unfolding, and there are so many more lives you have yet to touch. As we come to the close of this conversation, I want to remind you of something truly important. Aging is not just about what we lose, but about all the incredible ways we continue to grow, give, and matter. You've carried so much wisdom, love, and strength through the years, And those gifts don't fade, they deepen. The truths we've talked about today, the importance of purpose, the pain of loneliness, the courage to ask for help, the power of forgiveness, the impact of your environment, and most of all, the fact that you still matter, are not just ideas. They are invitations. Invitations to live your days with more connection, more meaning, and more joy. It's natural to face challenges as we age, but remember, you don't have to face them alone. Reach out, share your story, and take small steps to nurture your spirit and your relationships. Whether it's a call to an old friend, a walk in the sunlight, or a moment spent creating something new, every action brings you closer to the vibrant life you deserve. You are seen. You are valued. And your presence in this world makes a difference far beyond what words can capture. So take heart, keep moving forward, and know that each day is a new chance to embrace your unique journey. Thank you for being here, for listening, and for allowing yourself to be part of this community. If this video touched your heart, please leave a comment below sharing one thing you've learned or will try. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so we can continue walking this path together. Here's to you, your strength, your stories, and the bright days ahead.